expanded several times, is the crown jewel of Mount Vernon. But there are 11 other structures which date to Washington's lifetime, including the stables, smokehouse, washhouse, and the spinning house. And don't miss the large brick building that housed slaves on one side and tropical plants on the other. Other highlights include the upper garden, where flowers reign supreme, and the lower garden, where vegetables, herbs, and grapevines are beautifully blended, and the fruit garden and nursery with their peaches, pears, and, yes, cherry trees. Although it's a bit of a walk, Washington's tomb is a must-see experience. A few yards away is the Serene Slave Memorial, a modern tribute to the slaves and free blacks who toiled on the Mount Vernon estate. Further down the hillside is the Potomac River itself. It's hard to believe, but it was so full of herring in the 18th century that Washington's men could net 1.5 million fish in just a 6-week season. Depending on the season, you can take a quick spin on the Potomac. The views of the mansion are spectacular. The George Washington Pioneer Farmer site really brings history to life. Costumed interpreters plant and harvest crops. And you'll see one of Washington's best inventions, a treading barn that revolutionized the processing of wheat. Those who are in as good physical shape as George Washington might like to take the forest trail to learn more about the plants and animals that called Mount Vernon home. Others might like to take advantage of what's called the motorized carriage. Be sure to save time for the new Donald W. Reynolds Museum and Education Center, featuring 3 theaters, 23 galleries, and 9 video presentations that cover every exciting chapter in Washington's amazing life. And in the midst of it all, you'll find the most famous dentures in American history. George Washington was an astute businessman, and apparently Martha Washington was a pretty enthusiastic shopper. In just 1 year, she purchased no less than 20 different hats and a dozen fancy fans, so don't hesitate to follow in her footsteps. There's a small shop in the historic area and a much larger shop at the Mount Vernon Inn complex, where you'll also find the food court and the charming Mount Vernon Inn. Just between you and me, the peanut and chestnut soup and the old-fashioned bread pudding are pretty terrific. When you finally get back to your car or bus or carriage, there's still more. Just head down Route 235 for 3 miles and you'll come to General Washington's cutting-edge gristmill and completely restored distillery. In fact, we think Washington had the largest whiskey distillery in America. The mill and the distillery are both fully functional, but sorry, there are no free samples. Now I know what you're thinking. How can I possibly experience all of Mount Vernon in just a few hours? The simple explanation is that not everyone can. Instead, they plan a return trip, which has another big advantage. Mount Vernon really changes from season to season. It truly is a living, breathing plantation. So sit back and relax for the next 18 minutes in the Ford Orientation Center. You'll need to conserve your energy for the adventures that lie ahead. George Washington really was a remarkable man, and I think you'll discover that for yourself over the next few hours. Thanks for coming, and enjoy yourself.
I, James Craig, Surgeon General of the Continental Army, record this story as one among many attesting to his greatness.
Excellency, I did not expect to see you this night.
I'm mulling something over, James. Any needs I take stock.
Well, this way. The men will be very glad to see you.
How many have we?
All men, rank and file, sir. 10,104.
Of which almost 6,000 are too ill to depend upon.
Add 4 regiments from the Northern Army. Just arrived. Cadwallader brings perhaps another 1,800.
Most beaten down by cold or disease. In short, General, a very thin force.
That's thick enough for me. War Council, gentlemen. My quarters within the hour.
Yes, Your Excellency. Yes.
Dr. Craig, I need to see the men.
Sir.
A war council. But we're settled in winter quarters.
As are the Brits, Larry. And their Hessian hired hands. What better time to tan their hides?
Your family will be proud to see how bravely you bear your burden. And where are you from, lad?
Virginia, sir. On the Pamunkey. Hard by the Chamberlain holdings. They say you know that area well, sir.
I do.
It was back in the spring of 1758.
Colonel Washington. Mr. Chamberlain. Colonel Washington. Knew who it was the moment I spotted you. Who else has that stature, I asked. Unexpected pleasure, eh? Ladies will be delighted.
Oh, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I carry dispatches to the governor. And
No,
I'm afraid...
friend, man must eat, no? And your servant here needs time to tend the horses. Besides, 'tis time for dinner.
Well, you are a most generous soul.
Washington, a 26-year-old British colonial officer fighting in the French and Indian War, was riding to Williamsburg on military business. According to family legend, this is where his love story with Martha began.
I'm delighted to stop by, though I fear I have but an hour to spare.
Oh, meet the guests, eh? Then decide.
Frenchy has no future in the Ohio. He has no taste for settlement. And it's only people, not armies. Look at this. The very man that can tell us all about the frontier. Where on earth did you find him, brother?
Rushing to Williamsburg to offer Governor Dinwiddie all the details, Thomas.
Oh, but you must tell us first, Colonel.
Let the man breathe, Thomas.
Mrs. Chamberlain. Ladies, how very gracious of you to receive me.
The grace is yours if you can satisfy my husband's curiosity. Mrs. Custis, may I present Colonel George Washington, our dear friend, Martha Dandridge Custis.
Your servant, madam. I knew of your late husband and thought well of him.
I thank you, sir.
Are you a soldier, sir?
Yes, I am, young man.
Have you killed Indians?
Jackie, take your sister and find cook. I'm sure your tea's ready. Your heroism has made an irrevocable impression, Colonel.
Mrs. Custis, I would rather not spoil this moment with discussing the rugged scenes of war.
Oh? You would prefer delicate tales of poets and lovers?
I would, madam. You see, I have a heart susceptible to the tenderest passion.
Seven months later, Washington and the widow Custis were married. 16 years after that, the Revolutionary War broke out. By the end of 1776, the situation had grown desperate. His Excellency knew that without a victory, he could not hold the army together, and all would be lost. Time was not on his side. As His Excellency put it, a strike must be struck.
Hello now, gentlemen. Let's proceed.
This treason adds a wilderness of uncertainties.
Our country's full of cursed creatures, called Tories.
And now they know that our men are exhausted and unpaid.
If this fails, the game is pretty near up.
For heaven's sake, keep it yourselves.
Dire necessity will not justify the attempt. Now, by crossing at these unguarded points here and here, with every man we have, we should land undetected. If a Hessian patrol should spot one element, they should not be alarmed, expecting multiple crossings for a full invasion. We make our way south in two groups, General Sullivan's force and my own. General Stephen will break away, flank west, and surround them. Timing will be crucial, but with Colonel Knox's artillery on the heights, we can expect a clear passage.
Your Excellency, I'm game enough. But my men...
A long march in deepening snow and a better half without boots. For Sullivan's men, a defeat could be inevitable.
There will be no defeat. This is our land, gentlemen. Our country. Ours. It is that for which we fight. We know every creek and river, every hill and glen of our homes. We have a cause, a reason to offer our lives forfeit if need be. We fight to be free. This is not merely a battle, gentlemen. It is the very meaning of our existence. Now is the time to strike.
All the same, I would not underestimate the redcoats, sir.
He's a soldier by trade, and a fearsome fighter wherever they put him down.
But not invincible. It's victory or death, gentlemen.
I'll vouchsafe that. Never forget Braddock. Never. His Excellency was there. He saw the great fighting redcoat at close range.
Braddock was the British general dispatched to the American colonies to drive the French and their Indian allies from the Ohio Territory. Colonel Washington of the Virginia Colonies Militia and a British subject was serving the crown as an aide to Braddock.
Compliments, General Braddock, sir. If I may, sir, might I suggest we take the precaution of allowing the American force to take to the woods and scout the terrain?
That my army wandering about like women about their shop hopping? Why would I do that, I wonder?
Well, they know this frontier, sir. They can read the forest to see how the birds fly.
The birds, with their wings, I'm told.
Take care! Sir, Colonel Gage reports clear passage ahead.
Thank you, Captain Bannister. I'll put out flankers. Colonel Gage's advance guard will tell us if the enemy's about.
Look here, I know you mean well, but I'm really long past having advice given to me by a provincial officer. Thank you.
Sir.
Up! Front! Forward!
Braddock, we knew we were in the presence of a great leader. His bravery was extraordinary. He looked death in the face and never flinched. For many of us, this was the beginning of our new nation, for we had learned the redcoat was not invincible. 20 years later, in a small farmhouse on the Delaware, that same determination and courage were present, inspiring us all.
We have to exert ourselves to look forward with hope that some strange luck may yet turn up in our favor. Now, I have determined to cross the river and make an attack on Trenton.
And from that council of war, His Excellency boldly led us into a battle he was determined to win.
Move quickly, men! Move quickly, men!
Be our greatest victory.
The crossing and the 9-mile march to Trenton that followed were even more difficult than His Excellency had imagined. But the enemy troops were caught totally by surprise. We captured 900 prisoners and untold arms and supplies. It was a grand victory. Later, His Excellency thanked divine providence that not one American soldier had died. 7 long years would pass before the peace treaty of 1783. Toward the end, some of Washington's officers suggested the army overthrow the civilian government. Some even suggested crowning him king. But he would have no part of that. When the war was finally over, he went to the United States Congress and resigned his military commission. Gave up all his power.
I have now the honor of offering my sincere congratulations to Congress. Now presenting myself before them to surrender into their hands the trust committed to me. I hereby offer my commission and take leave of all the employments of public life.
He put America into the hands of the people, where it belonged. His resignation accepted, he mounted up and rode home to Mount Vernon. Will we ever see his like again? Perhaps, if we remain true to his memory.